Margot Quinn is a lone human scavenger in a vast galaxy ruled by strict laws and powerful alien empires. When she finds a lost military file, it changes everything. The file is not just information, it is alive, chaotic, and dangerous. It teaches strange, wild tactics and unlocks a forgotten part of humanity's fierce spirit. Now, Margot must escape powerful forces who want to control or destroy the file. The galaxy faces a choice: stay safe and orderly, or embrace the unpredictable chaos that only humans bring. The story is full of tension, wild surprises, and deep emotions about identity and survival. The void of space was silent, but Margot Quinn's ship hummed with life. Her fingers moved quickly over the worn controls, a mixture of skill and desperation. Outside the viewport, a broken shape floated, a derelict military server from the Galactic Accord. It drifted like a forgotten coffin, scarred by micrometeors and plasma burns. Someone had tried very hard to destroy it, but here it was, begging to be opened. Margot's ship AI buzzed and chirped in warnings she'd learned to ignore. Warning. Unauthorized salvage operation detected. Please cease. She yanked wires from beneath the console, killing the AI's voice. Much better, she thought bitterly. A human solution: if it talks too much, turn it off. A habit that probably caused her ancestors a lot of trouble. But trouble was all she knew. With calm hands, she fired the magnetic grapples. The heavy claws locked onto the server's hull with a loud thunk that shook the ship's bones. Margot smiled, a brief flash of triumph. "All right, you beautiful piece of classified garbage," she muttered, flipping the cutting torch on. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding." Suddenly, her console exploded in warnings. Lights flashed and alarms screamed. The server was waking up, fighting back. The screens filled with symbols twisting and morphing, burning patterns that hurt her eyes. Then they changed, forming words she could understand. Critical file breach detected. Containment failure. Linguistic hazard detected. Linguistic hazard. Margot snorted. What is this, a curse? Her translation matrix tried to keep up, but the data came too fast. The file wasn't just data, it was alive. It flowed into her ship's systems, her neural interface, spreading like wildfire. A million pieces of wild, chaotic information exploded inside her mind. Warning. This document contains Class X cognitive hazards. Reading may result in tactical innovation, spontaneous laughter in combat, and terminal irreverence toward authority. Neural integration irreversible. This file is not a weapon. It is a key. Do not turn it unless you are prepared to unlock every cage, including your own. Margot blinked. Then she laughed softly. If something warned it might break her brain, she'd open it immediately. It was what humans did. The file flooded her mind like a storm. Images, words, tactics, and jokes came crashing in. It showed her battles where soldiers used chickens to terrify entire enemy armies. One story told how a broken coffee maker and sheer madness helped a lone fighter hold a position against overwhelming odds. Another talked about making fire cocktails out of old drinks. It was madness, pure, beautiful madness. And it worked. A shriek burst through her ship's speakers. 3 Galactic Accord patrol vessels dropped out of hyperspace, weapons aimed and ready. A cold voice crackled through her supposedly dead comms. "Salvager vessel, you possess restricted materials. Surrender immediately." Margot's hands moved before her mind caught up. She grabbed the comm and made the most terrible noise she could, a mix of a dying cat and a broken machine. Then she screamed, "Critical biological contamination. It's in my sinuses. It's trying to talk." The lead patrol ship hesitated, confused. Then backed off. "Clarify nature of contamination." "Oh, it says your mothers were sequential hermaphrodites." Margot wailed, then made a sound like gravel being electrocuted. Dead silence. She used the moment to fire emergency thrusters, sending her ship careening into a nearby asteroid field. The patrol ships tried to keep up, dodging giant rocks tumbling through space. Margot laughed, wild and free. She had no idea what the file really was yet, but it was teaching her new ways to fight, a language of chaos and unpredictability. Somewhere deep inside, her mind clicked with understanding. This wasn't just a manual. It was a living thing, a weapon of madness and hope. The file kept flowing, showing her strange entries: how to kill a god with a spoon, the art of psychological warfare through aggressive friendship, when to run away or fight harder. Then, one entry caught her eye. The long fade. When the war is won but the battle lost, disappear into the shadows. Hide the fire in 1,000 hearths until the galaxy needs to burn again. A warning, a promise, and a secret. Behind her, the patrol vessels opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through asteroids, clouds of superheated dust exploding all around. Her ship bucked, rocked, and weaved as she fought to stay alive. Her hands never shook, but her mind raced. She needed to lose them. And she needed to understand what the file really was. 3 days later, Margot sat in the galaxy's least reputable bar. A converted cargo container wedged in Nexus Station's worst sector. The smell was terrible, the lighting dim, and trouble always close. Across the room, a four-armed crime lord glared at his drink, set on fire. "It's called a Molotov cocktail," Margot said, grinning. "Traditional human beverage." Tarnik Korum, a species famous for conquering 16 systems through order and precision, stared like she'd insulted his ancestors. "You drink fire?" "Only on Tuesdays," Margot shrugged, taking a careful sip of her non-flaming beer. "Or during invasions, really. Whenever the mood strikes." The crime lord's bodyguards, armed enough to level a city, watched her like she might spontaneously combust. Which, given what she'd done to his last 3 operations, wasn't far off. "You have something I want," the crime lord said finally. "My sparkling personality?" Margot teased, hand drifting toward the plasma cutter hidden in her boot. "The file. The one teaching strange tactics, the one that let you destroy my depot using cleaning supplies and jazz music." "Oh yeah, turns out degreaser and smooth saxophone make a powerful psychological cocktail. Your boys forgot how to violence." One of his arms twitched toward a weapon, but the others made what might have been the alien equivalent of a thoughtful gesture. "I've heard legends about your kind. I never thought I'd see one undiluted." The word hung heavy in the air. Margot smiled, sharp and careful. "Some legends bite. Not for sale. I'll pay. Handsomely. Still not for sale. I'll pay enough to buy a small moon." "Okay, which moon?" "Some of those are just glorified rocks." The bar's bartender, a four-armed alien with tired eyes, polished a glass with a rag so human it made Margot ache for lost family. She pushed the feeling down. Tarnik's face twisted with frustration. "You cannot possibly understand what you possess. That file is not knowledge, it is chaos given form. Humanity's madness made real." Margot interrupted. "Trust me, you don't want it." The bar door exploded inward, not kicked, but blasted with thermite. Smoke filled the room, and a tall enforcer in gleaming armor stepped inside. His weapon swept the room like a predator's gaze. "Margot Quinn," he said, voice cold and tired. "By order of the Galactic Accord, you are under arrest for theft, destruction, psychological warfare, and multiple other violations." Margot stood slowly. "And what's this about a genetic identity clause?" "You know what it means. That don't be human too loudly law." 16 casualties, Margot corrected. 16 soldiers traumatized by poultry. Big difference. The enforcer sighed. "The Accord does not." The crime lord and the enforcer stared at each other, weapons ready. Margot reached into her jacket, hands steady. But then the file fought back. Her screen flickered. Lines of code she hadn't written flowed like water, spreading through the station's systems, criminal databases, military academies, civilian networks. What the hell? Margot whispered. The file is alive, she said louder. It's spreading. The enforcer and crime lord raised weapons. Margot held up a data pad. A countdown began, 10 seconds. Dead man switch, she explained. If I don't check in, the file broadcasts everywhere. The enforcer hesitated. You're bluffing. Wish I was. The timer ticked down. At 3 seconds, the enforcer's HUD flashed a warning, incoming data packet, Class X cognitive hazard. His hand twitched toward quarantine protocols, then stopped. Why quarantine something so interesting? Margot grinned. What's Protocol 7 in your arrest procedures? Secure the suspect. Protocol 7 says you should have backups at all exits. Your backup is currently doing the Macarena. The bar exploded in chaos as reinforcements arrived, slipping on banana peels and dancing uncontrollably. Margot laughed, ducking behind the bar as plasma fire turned bottles into shards of light. This is insane, the enforcer shouted. Welcome to humanity. Margot called. She threw a bottle that exploded into foam, trapping attackers in sticky clouds. Diabetes grenade, she said, grinning. The fight had just begun, and the galaxy was about to learn what humans really meant by chaos. The chaos inside the bar was a symphony of noise and motion. Plasma bolts lit the smoke-filled room like strange fireworks. Shouts mixed with the sharp crack of weapons and the squelch of expanding foam traps. Margot dove behind the bar, her heart pounding, mind alive with every unpredictable possibility. The crime lord, Tarnik Koram, flipped a heavy table with all 4 arms and fired wildly. He looked like the galaxy's angriest DJ, but his precision was a problem. Bullets whizzed past Margot's head as she scrambled to assemble something from broken bottles and spilled liquor. Karam, Chapter 7, she muttered under her breath. The art of strategic retreat. She flicked the switch on a small device, then shouted, "Run." The crime lord's surviving bodyguards shielded him as they scrambled toward a back exit. Margot grabbed the enforcer's arm, spinning him around just as a shock trooper lunged. She used his rifle to clothesline the attacker. The trooper fell tangled in his own gear. Did you just use me as a weapon? The enforcer gasped. Improvisation, baby, Margot said with a grin. Outside, the bar's flaming wreckage spilled into the corridor. Alarms blared as emergency lights strobed wildly. Margot's mind raced with countless ideas to turn the chaos to their advantage. 16 ways to disable mercenaries, 43 traps in reach, and 6 tricks to use their own weapons against them. She froze, overwhelmed by the flood of options, then a bolt of plasma hissed past her ear. Rude, she muttered. The enforcer, Tyrex, suddenly stepped in front of her, firing stun bolts so precisely every merc dropped without lasting harm. Why? Margot asked, surprised. I've been tracking you for 3 days, Tyrex said, eyes serious. You've caused chaos but haven't killed anyone. The file says, I don't care what the file says. I care what you do. Margot studied him, surprised. You read it? Parts of it. His face was complicated. It's insane. It's human. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Your ship or mine? Mine, Margot said. Yours probably has protocols and working air recyclers. What's wrong with functioning air recyclers? They don't build character. They ran through the smoke-filled corridors, dodging emergency responders and the accidentally dancing soldiers forced by the disco inferno. A friction merchant argued loudly with a customer, using a hand gesture so familiar Margot's heart tightened, a pleading wave her grandfather used long ago on Earth. Echoes of home, scattered across the stars. Suddenly, Margot's calm crackled to life. Miss Quinn, "This is Admiral Vera Sol of the Galactica," a cold voice said. "We need to talk." "Popular girl today," Margot muttered. "Sorry, Admiral, but I'm washing my hair." Tyrex tensed beside her. The Admiral continued, voice sharp and full of power. "This file is not just data. It's a record, a testimony. If you keep spreading it, you'll do my soul." Margot stopped walking. "The enemy humanity fought, they are not gone. They wait in the dark. You're waking them." Tyrex and Margot exchanged a look. The word descendants echoed in Margot's mind. She had always thought humans were nearly extinct. "Well," Margot said finally, "that's either the worst pickup line ever or we have a problem." "Ship," Tyrex said. "Ship," Margot agreed, and they ran faster. Behind them, the station burned, pulsing with chaotic lights and sounds. Ahead, the file waited, strange, alive, and full of secrets. Somewhere far away, something stirred. The scent of human madness was a call no darkness could ignore. 3 days earlier, the Galactic Accord's flagship, Inevitable Logic, hung in space like a giant cathedral of war. 12,000 crew and weapons enough to destroy worlds. At its heart, Admiral Vera Sol studied her screens, ice-cold disappointment carved in her face. "The Hegemony fleet tried using the Florida Man Protocol," she said. "They lost 40% of their ships to aggressive stupidity." A thin smile flickered. "Did they win?" "No," she said. "They destroyed their own flagship with a kitchen appliance." Her voice dropped. "The file must be purged. Every copy. Every fragment." Margot interrupted from her ship, voice steady and calm. "I've read the whole thing. Every entry. Do you know what humanity was fighting?" Sol's face grew serious. "They called them the Silence. Perfect order. Perfect death. They make species predictable, then destroy them. Except humanity," Tyrex said softly. Margot nodded. "When the Silence came for us, expecting order and logic, they found madness instead. We threw chickens, built bombs from snacks, used insanity as a weapon. And vivens," the Admiral added. "They kept humans docile, predictable, safe." Margot's grin was sharp. "We didn't vanish. We hid. Played nice. The file is a wake-up call." The Admiral's eyes grew distant. "We thought we could control it, integrate you, dilute your nature." Laughter without humor escaped her lips. "Viva arrogant. We sought control. Instead, you put foxes in charge of the henhouse." Across the flagship's bridge, officers dropped their helmets, revealing human features beneath scales and armor. Juggling plasma cores, building strange devices, laughing. Margot watched, amazed. "Humans are everywhere," she said softly. "Doctors, engineers, artists, warriors. We've been holding back. This file," she said, voice strong. "It's permission. To be ourselves again." "This is mutiny," Sol whispered. "This is Tuesday," Tyrex said. "Also," Margot added with a wink, "the stellar array has been offline for 6 hours. Replaced with a karaoke machine." The crew's confused but entertained. The Admiral's frustration was real. "Do you know what you've done?" "Yeah," Margot said, voice cracking slightly. "I reminded millions of humans they can be themselves. The galaxy's about to get real interesting." "Millions." The number thundered in her mind. Tyrex's voice broke the silence. "The Silence will come back. And this time," Sol said quietly, "there will be no humanity left to save us." Margot laughed, a breathless, wild sound. "Oh, Vera," she wheezed. "You don't get it. The file isn't making aliens think like humans. It's reminding humans who they really are. Humans don't win by being stronger or smarter," she said, "we win by being us." Chaotic, unpredictable, duct tape wielding us. She reached out to the comms and hit the red button. Nothing exploded. Every screen on both ships lit up. Congratulations. You've been enrolled in Humanity 101, Advanced Chaos Theory. Lesson 1, always have a backup plan. Lesson 2, the backup plan is usually worse. The Admiral demanded, "What did you do?" Margot smiled. "Nothing. The file did it all." Her hands trembled. The knowledge coursed through her. Every problem birthed 10 solutions, insane, brilliant, dangerous. She looked at the Admiral's chair and imagined 47 ways to turn it into an improvised cannon. The file was alive. It used her as a relay. A virus of memory. A digital ghost of human madness. And it had just reminded millions of humans scattered across the stars. Months later, the bar was better. Walls instead of cargo containers. Drinks rarely on fire unless asked. Background music almost pleasant, except for the occasional Pulla remix. Margot sat in her usual corner, watching chaos bloom around her. A hegemony officer taught a fix artist how to make explosives from garnishes. 2 Sarah engineers argued about duct tape in starship repair. A group of mixed species played combat chess, their faces alive with laughter. "The galaxy's gone mad," Tyrex said, sliding into the seat across from her. His enforcer uniform had electrical tape racing stripes. "Gun, human," Margot corrected, raising her beer. "Is there a difference?" Tyrex grinned. They clinked glasses. "Any word from the frontier?" "Anomalies," Tyrex said. "Ships moving too meticulously. Colonies going silent in perfect rhythms. They're testing us." "What happened when the silence probe arrived in Vega?" Margot leaned forward. "Local forces hit it with 30 tons of glitter, a looped recording of someone's grandmother complaining, and repair drones reprogrammed to redecorate aggressively. The probe left quickly." Margot nearly choked on her beer. "Glitter is forever," they said in unison, laughing. Across the room, a Corvani engineer built something either revolutionary or a complicated cocktail mixer. Margot caught a familiar hand gesture, a dismissive wave so achingly human. The engineer turned, features hidden under scales but undeniably human. Another cousin she never knew. "Think we're ready?" Tyrex asked. "When they come for real?" Margot considered. "We'll be ready. The galaxy is learning to think like humans. To laugh, to hope, to face the impossible with a grin and terrible plans." "We're not ready," Margot said softly. "We'll never be ready. That's why we're dangerous." "If it makes sense, you're doing it wrong," Tyrex laughed. Margot smiled. "Now we prepare for the universe's weirdest war. Stock up on duct tape, train tactical chickens, perfect combat puns, and wait for the silence to realize their biggest mistake. They thought we were one chaotic species. They're about to face a galaxy full of them." Margot stood, hope burning fierce inside her. And chaos, beautiful, unstoppable chaos. The stars outside Margot Quinn's viewport blurred as her ship danced through the asteroid field. Her mind was a storm of new knowledge and wild possibilities, the file's code pulsing like a heartbeat in her neural interface. She was no longer just a scavenger, she was a carrier of something far bigger, something that could change the galaxy forever. Tyrex sat beside her, quiet for once, absorbing the madness with the wary respect of a soldier who had seen order crumble. "You realize this file isn't just about tactics, don't you?" he finally said. Margot grinned, hands steady on the controls. "It's about survival. About remembering who we are when the universe tries to make us forget." Her ship shuddered as plasma bolts slammed into the hull. The Accord patrols weren't giving up, but Margot's new arsenal was ready. She flicked switches, deploying traps and jamming signals. Her mind raced with ideas. The file whispered, how to turn enemy weapons against them, how to use noise and chaos to break their discipline. The patrol ships hesitated as their systems flooded with unexpected interference. Their carefully ordered attack faltered. Margot's ship darted between asteroids, impossible angles that no conventional pilot would dare. "Humans fight dirty," Tyrex said, voice a mix of admiration and disbelief. "Better than dying clean," Margot replied. Suddenly, the ship's neural interface pulsed violently. The file was pushing deeper, rewriting connections, unlocking pathways in her brain. She gasped as visions flooded her, scenes of ancient battles, impossible strategies, moments of wild human courage. She wasn't just reading history, she was living it. The chaos wasn't just tactics. It was a language, a code for breaking free. A warning flashed in her mind: the silence remembers. The silence watches. The silence waits. But Margot's laughter echoed louder. The silence had never met humanity's madness. Back on Nexus Station, the bar buzzed with uneasy energy. The accident had turned the place into a symbol of chaos and hope. Species that once eyed each other with suspicion now shared stories and weapons, learning the strange human art of controlled insanity. Margot leaned on the bar, watching the diverse crowd. A young friction engineer tinkered with a device that looked dangerously close to a bomb. Nearby, a Sarah pilot argued passionately about duct tape's tactical uses. The air was thick with the electric charge of rebellion. Tyrex joined her, adjusting his patched uniform. "The galaxy's changing faster than any of us expected. Change is chaos's oldest friend," Margot said softly. "And chaos is what we do best." Their conversation was cut short as a holomessage flickered to life above the bar. Admiral Vera Sol's icy face filled the screen. "Miss Quinn," the Admiral began, "the silence's probes have increased. They are preparing to return." Margot's eyes narrowed. "Then we better be ready." The Admiral nodded grimly. "We cannot stop the silence alone. But with humanity's unpredictable spirit, we might stand a chance." Margot smirked. "Stand back and watch the chaos." The file inside Margot's mind continued to grow, its code weaving into her thoughts and reflexes. She began seeing the galaxy not as a place of order but as a game of endless improvisation. A thought struck her: what if the file was never meant to be found? It was a test, a seed planted to awaken the forgotten human chaos across the stars. To remind descendants and allies that the key to survival was not power or precision, but madness and adaptability. Margot's ship raced through the dark, each moment a calculated risk. Patrols ambushed her at every turn, but she turned their strength into weakness, baiting traps and using their own systems against them. At one point, she locked a patrol vessel's engines with a simple pulse and sent it tumbling into a cluster of asteroids. Tyrex shook his head in disbelief. "You turned their warship into space debris with a whisper." "That's Chapter 42, Make Your Enemy Your Weapon," Margot said with a grin. "It's surprisingly effective." Word of Margot and the file spread like wildfire. Across dozens of systems, scattered humans and their descendants began to awaken. Old rules faded as strange tactics and wild ideas blossomed. Some formed hidden groups, training tactical chickens and perfecting the art of absurd combat. Others hacked into enemy networks, flooding them with nonsense and chaos. The Galactic Accord struggled to respond. Their perfect order cracked under the weight of human unpredictability. Admiral Sol watched helplessly as her fleets fought battles where enemy soldiers danced uncontrollably, morale shattered by relentless chaos and laughter. "This isn't war," she muttered. "This is madness." Meanwhile, deep in the void, a dark shadow stirred. The silence. Ancient, cold, and deadly. They had waited centuries for humanity to fade, to become manageable, predictable. But the file had awoken something fierce and wild. The silence's commanders gathered in silence, sensing the shift. One whispered, "They remember. They are returning." Another nodded. "Prepare the fleets." The galaxy's most dangerous species is awake. Back on Margot's ship, a new message blinked on her screen. From a hidden network, a call went out to every human descendant. Remember who you are. Remember the chaos that saved us. The galaxy needs us. Margot's hands trembled as the file's final message played in her mind. Victory is not strength or smarts. It is the courage to be stupid, to be wild, to be human. When the universe asks, did that really just work, grin, shrug, and plan something even crazier. Margot laughed, a sound of hope and defiance. The galaxy was waking up. And the silence would soon learn the cost of underestimating madness. Margot's ship cut through the blackness like a dart thrown by fate itself. Every light flickered with danger, every shadow hid a threat. But inside her, the file pulsed like a living heartbeat, feeding her mind with wild, unpredictable strategies that turned fear into fuel. She glanced at Tyrex, who sat silently scanning the data. His military training clashed with the chaos she embodied, but beneath his rigid calm, a fire burned, a reluctant hope. Ever think we're just the galaxy's weirdest weapon? She asked. Tyrex smiled briefly. The deadliest. The calm buzzed suddenly. Admiral Sol's face appeared, colder than the void itself. Miss Quinn, your actions have unsettled the Accord and its allies. The silence stirs once more. Your file spreads like wildfire. What do you intend to do? Margot leaned back, eyes sharp. I'm waking up a sleeping giant, Admiral. One that doesn't play by your rules. Sol's gaze hardened. You risk igniting a war that could consume us all. Or start a revolution that saves us. The Admiral's face flickered, a rare moment of vulnerability. We must prepare. Together. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the ripple effects of the files spread reshaped everything. Human descendants on distant worlds gathered in secret, sharing stories, weapons, and wild new tactics learned from the file's strange wisdom. On a mining colony orbiting a dead star, a group of rebels set a trap using nothing but duct tape, laser pointers, and a carefully timed playlist of Earth's most chaotic music. When their enemies arrived, they found themselves overwhelmed not by brute force, but by laughter, confusion, and a shower of improvised explosions. One rebel leader smiled. This is the way humans fight, unpredictable, relentless, and utterly insane. Back on Nexus Station, the rebuilt bar hummed with energy. Old enemies laughed over drinks, sharing wild ideas and reckless plans. Margot sat with Tyrex, watching a hegemony officer teach a fix artist how to craft explosives from cocktail garnishes. Humans brought chaos, Tyrex said quietly. Now chaos is everywhere. Controlled chaos, Margot corrected. The only thing that can stand against perfect order. Her thoughts drifted to the silence, their cold, ruthless logic and endless hunger for control. They think they've won, she said. But they don't understand us. They never did. Tyrex nodded. Their order breaks against our madness. On board the inevitable logic, Admiral Sol stood before her council, tension thick in the air. The silence return, she said. We face extinction if we fail. A general spoke up. The humans are a threat and an asset. Their unpredictability may be our last hope. Sol sighed. Then we must guide them, and prepare for war. Deep in the void, the silence's fleet gathered, ships like dark stars, swallowing light and hope. Their commanders whispered of eradication and order restored. But as they advanced, strange signals flooded their sensors, laughter, chaos, and the unmistakable mark of human madness. Their cold logic faltered, and uncertainty seeped in. Margot stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the galaxy she had helped wake. The file's code hummed in her mind, a chorus of wild possibilities. This is just the beginning, she said. The universe will never be the same. Tyrex stood beside her, weapon ready but eyes full of trust. Together, he said. Together, Margot agreed. The stars outside held their breath. And the galaxy waited for the coming storm, the beautiful, terrible madness of humanity unleashed. The silence in space was deeper than any darkness. Margot's ship hovered at the edge of a vast battlefield where fleets from countless worlds gathered, tension burning hotter than plasma fire. The galaxy was poised on the edge of chaos, and Margot knew what came next would change everything. Admiral Vera Sol's flagship, Inevitable Logic, loomed like a fortress of steel and cold purpose. Its weapons primed, its crews tense. But inside, Sol carried the weight of centuries and the hope that humanity's madness could save them all. Margot sat beside Tyrex in her ship's worn cockpit. The file pulsed in her mind, alive, insistent, a wild storm of possibility. "This is it," she whispered. "The silence are coming. But they don't know what waiting for them." Tyrex nodded, eyes sharp. "You ready to fight a war no one expects?" "Ready to win it," Margot said with a grin. The silence fleet advanced, sleek and merciless. They expected perfect order, cold strategy, unstoppable logic. Instead, they found chaos. Ships darted unpredictably, weapons fired from impossible angles, and fighters fought with reckless creativity that defied all tactics. The silence commanders were unprepared. Their sensors jammed by laughter and noise. Their formations broken by distractions and absurdity. A silence leader snarled, "This is madness. We will crush it." But madness was the galaxy's new weapon, and it was human. On the front lines, Margot led a ragtag fleet. Pilots from dozens of species, united by the file's wild tactics and impossible courage. One pilot, a descendant of old Earth, fired improvised weapons made from salvaged parts and sheer will. Another used bizarre dance moves to confuse targeting systems. Margot herself fought like a storm, unpredictable, fearless, fueled by the chaotic wisdom of the file. Each move was a gamble. Each victory a miracle. Back on the Inevitable Logic, Admiral Sol watched battle unfold, a mixture of fear and awe in her eyes. "The humans fight with fire and laughter," she said softly. "They are chaos given form." She turned to her crew. "Prepare for boarding. We must fight not just with weapons but with spirit." Margot's ship weaved through the chaos, dodging destruction. The file whispered new tactics, how to turn disaster into advantage, confusion into power. She looked at Tyrex. "This isn't just a fight. It's a lesson." Tyrex smiled tiredly. "And we're the teachers." The battle reached its peak. Silence ships fell apart, overwhelmed not by strength but by wild creativity and the refusal to obey logic. Margot's voice echoed over the comms. "Remember, victory isn't about being better. It's about being willing to do something so stupid it stops the universe and makes it ask, did that really just work?" Her fleet roared in agreement. As the silence retreated, broken and confused, the galaxy held its breath. The file had done more than teach tactics. It had reignited the spirit of humanity, the audacity to hope, to fight, and to laugh in the face of impossible odds. Margot stood on the bridge of her ship, eyes shining. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The galaxy has learned to be human again." Tyrex joined her, nodding. "And next time, the silence won't know what hit them." Months later, the bar on Nexus Station was filled with laughter and plans. Old enemies joked, shared stories, and trained tactical chickens. Margot raised her glass. To chaos. To hope. To the wild, beautiful madness that is humanity. The crowd cheered. Because in a galaxy ruled by order, the greatest weapon was a crazy human with a plan, and a little duct tape.